Hello War of the Visions fans, I'm Jackie Fox, and in this video I want to briefly go over my experience in Limited Arena. This is my Gumi Economics video that looks at which forms of PvP are the most free-to-play friendly. Is going to be made and recorded before I finish Limited Arena, so it's not going to have a lot of my closing thoughts on this, and I do have a few. A lot of the things backed up things that I'm going to say in that video, which should be released shortly, but I really couldn't fit all of this into that video either, so it felt like it had to be its own thing. For one, the fact that there aren't biz restores changes the quality of life for me in terms of Limited Arena by so much. Like, I don't have to worry about 1,200 people overcoming me in rank while I'm asleep every night. I don't have to worry about just running into a situation where all someone has to do is outbid me to beat me. I don't have to worry about just, like, if I end the day at 500 and I go to sleep and I wake up the next day, I'm not going to be knocked out of the top 1,000. It felt like even if I had skipped a day, I probably would have only lost like 500 or 600 rank. I mean, that would have compounded with this effect in the next day, so I might have lost like 1,000 rank before I played again, or even more. But Arena is much less forgiving, especially when you're getting closer to the top. Maybe it's more forgiving towards the bottom, but I highly doubt that either. But it feels like, because of some of the Viz bidding wars that happen in regular Arena towards the top, just because, why not pay 50 extra Viz to chase a higher reward tier? But the thing is, only so many of us will be able to reach that higher reward tier, and you're going to be pushing out people who would have made that ordinarily without putting as much investment in, perhaps. So you're really just raising the price of this for all of us by kind of having these bidding wars, and it's one of the reasons why I wish that there just were no Viz refill options at all in Arena, period. And that's something I'm going to get into a lot more in that Gumi Economics video, but this felt a lot better. Like, I didn't have the chronic anxiety and panic of how much rank am I going to lose over the next hour. Because at some point people just ran out of refills, and that's not necessarily a thing that happens outside of Limited Arena. The other thing that I want to say, and this isn't even about Limited Arena, but also we're doing Class Match this week, and, I haven't played a lot of this season of Class Match, and when I miss, when I feel like, when one comes with a raid or something, and I feel like, I don't have the time to do that the way I want to do it, so I'm not going to do it. And then the next time it's like, well, I skipped last time, so my rank's going to hurt because of that, so I might as well just not put the effort in now. But I have the same experience every time I participate in Class Match, or even to a certain degree Quick Pick. I think Quick Pick kind of triggers the same emotions in me, but it's like, this is the way the game should be. For so many reasons, this is the way that the game should be, and I'm just so happy with it, even though it's like a blind format, and that can make it prone to just the strongest teams in the game being there all the time, because they can beat a variety of other things. But I don't know, but I can play it in manual. There's just, and especially manual play in general, manual PvP in this game is so good. It makes me feel so good, at least. I enjoy it, and it always kind of rejuvenates my love of the game whenever I get to experience a manual format. But the thing I do want to complain about, and this is something that I didn't really get into in the Gumi Economics video because it was too specific, but the unit pool, the bonus unit pool for this was miserable. Okay, so Doom the Spring Celestial was the only 100% bonus unit. And okay, I get that. The only 100% bonus unit often is the very newest thing. That's the thing that you really want to have if you're fighting your way to the very tippity top, because that's going to get you the maximum bonus points. But here's the thing. The 75% pool seems to be based on largely just who's on the home screen this week. So you get this piss poor, horrendous pool of must-use units to compete that don't hang with Joom. Like new Joom, not at all. And you really need like the newest and best and a good team, and you need to hope that their team isn't the newest and best as well to be able to beat a Joom, because they're just so... it's just that much more powerful than everything else right now. So it's really like tying people's hands behind their back to force them to use original Joom, Setia, original Lucio. Roth and Perrine are slightly better choices here. I would also say like potentially Glaciella or Macherie could be better here. But really, none of those are on the short list of units that I want to challenge Joom with. Also, you might notice something else here. There is an element missing entirely. There is an element that just doesn't have a 75% bonus. Ice doesn't? Oh yeah, Velis isn't in here at all. So people who invested in Olboa are just especially fucked. There's no real way to build an ice team and get bonus points. But the thing that really aggravates me is that there's no way to build a lightning team to get bonus points. Now, that's not entirely true. But you would have to dip all the way down to having Renan or Velis. And you would have to drop all the way down to a 50% bonus. At this point, the Joom player has 50% bonus on you. They're going to be getting that many more points just for being here than you will. This meant that like there weren't a ton of super competitive ice teams that weren't ice teams with Joom. There weren't a lot of super competitive lightning teams. Even though there was so much Joom with her being the 100% bonus unit that you could just cut your way through with lightning, you did not have the bonus units to be actually competing with Joom without... Here's a team I saw a lot. Joom the Spring Celestial, Astrius the Erudite Bolt, and Elia the Alabaster. 2 lightning units, 2 greatsword units, Joom the Spring Celestial. That was a team I saw a lot. So, you know, like, it feels real bad for people who don't have Joom at this point. And not only because she is pretty easily the strongest all-around unit in War of the Visions on the global side, for sure. Like, even on JP, I think she's probably like the second strongest, maybe. Ashen Mont is just a powerhouse, and also tends to cover her weaknesses really well, because if you put the two of these on a team together, you're definitely not going to be having trouble with lightning units. And that's without like any synergy between them at all. Like, just the sheer fact that they're the strongest things in the game right now are making them the best. But it's not even that. It's like how far the bonus schedule for this just bends over backwards to hand Joom the W here. It's fucking ridiculous. And like, this is the 3rd week in a row that has been, not even like the 3rd session in a row that has been like just prime Joom stomping grounds. Even right now, even this week, she's a 75% bonus unit in a week where the main bonuses are for fire. So she's going to be the counter team this week, which is probably going to, and usually the counter teams are often like the most common teams. So people like to win. Wouldn't you know it? People really like to win. But also, like, these pools aren't necessarily that large. And as we're getting into a game that just has more and more and more and more and more and more characters, especially towards the 50% bonus, you could throw us a lot more bones than this. But it's just, oh my god, they really forced you into having Joom to do well in this one. And that being said, on my account where I do have a Joom, I was playing one in, I mocked into like 34th place at one point when we had infinite refills during the mock days, which is another really cool bonus for like a competitive format. Being able to mock it always helpful, especially with unlimited refills. I was able to find all the other tryhards and fight against them for like an hour that day because I just kept doing refills and just stubbornly pushed myself to the top so that I could fight all of the teams that I would have to face off against. And that made me pretty darn good at getting a winning streak going throughout this event. That being said, as I'm going to discuss in my Gumi Economics video, a winning streak does not a winning week make, unfortunately. And it really feels like this game would be better off if that wasn't the case. But that's all of my thoughts on Limited Arena and all of the limited PvP that we're having this week. There is a lot of it, and especially if you're playing in manual, that could potentially cause some burnout for you. And I'm definitely feeling it, but at the same time, I'm also feeling more energized and reinvigorated. And I think if it was just Limited Arena this week, I wouldn't feel that way. I would just feel burnout, even though I'm would be doing less because it wouldn't be class match. But again, can I just encourage you, if class match is still open, if I get this video up in a reasonable amount of time and you can play class match, or if Quick Pick comes out soon or something like that, I just really encourage you to try these formats. Try them in manual, mess with the initial placement, and just screw around with people because it's the best. And especially, almost especially, if you haven't done so before, there's always a lot of people entering into these formats, and even at the bronze tier, there's going to be good teams from people who are just now starting on building their rank in these areas, or new players that have reasonably good accounts. So it's not going to be too easy, but you're definitely not filtered. There's definitely going to be some teams that you're going to have quite a fun time beating up on. I'm just and it's different when you're grinding through those first couple of matches in Arena on Monday, and you're going up against the team that still has a not fully awakened Prince Mont on it. It doesn't really feel all that cool to beat them. But when you do that manually, it feels a little better. At least. And it's just a really cool format, even though it is probably one of the more time intensive because it requires both players to be there live to watch it play out, even if you're watching it play out in auto, which is incidentally why the load time is so fast for this, or feels so fast for this, because in Arena, in the auto formats, or in the default auto formats where it has, or not default, but it has to be auto, they simulate the entire match before you even load in. That's why the loading takes so long. They're simulating the entire match before you get in there. And not having to do that here, that also means that you can't skip because it is not determined the winner or loser before the game is loaded in the same way that it is in Arena, which can make it a little bit time intensive. And maybe they should do that front-end loading if both players have chose to do this on auto, and allow you to skip if both players are on auto, but I think that would create even more hate for the manual players in a way, because then I'm the reason that the other guy can't skip it. But in a format where if you play reasonably fast, if you're not trolling or anything in manual, then it shouldn't be that much slower than watching somebody play in auto, because sometimes the game takes a while to weigh its options as well. And for better or for worse, I at least tend to play a little bit faster than that. But there we are. That is my thoughts on limited PvP this week. It's been a fun ride. It's been a long ride. I'm glad it's over. I'm happy to have a couple more days of class match before, without having to worry about going crazy in Arena. I think I'm going to take it real easy in Arena this week and kind of let myself recharge, but I am definitely excited to play in class, and I hope I see you guys there. I hope I see a lot of you there, because hey, if you start now, you might be able to catch up with me. I'm not that far in. Maybe I'll see you at a match in silver or something before the end of the week. Because, and I do want to also give a shout out to like all of my subscribers that did well this week. I saw so many of you, and some of you are actually going to show up in the video. I'm sure some of you show up in a lot of my videos, actually. Maybe some of you that I don't even notice show up in a lot more of my videos than I realize. You know, especially if you weren't commenting much, but like, you know, usually your YouTube handle and your wotv handle are at least similar enough that it's like, oh, it's Vinju. Vinju in particular is doing good this week. Oh wait, did I see Vinju in like the thousands? That's still pretty good. Like anything below 2,000 this week, I would say was really good because there were a lot of people who were competing that wouldn't usually. And again, especially if you weren't playing with Joom, you know, you could only do so good. So congratulations to everyone who made it into at least the top 2,000. But like, I also saw a number of you. I forget who though. It'll come up in the video. It'll come up in the Gumi Economics video. Some of you will be in there who did really well. But I saw a number of you that were like up there. And it's funny to me because I also saw a number of content creators on the way up. And like they were doing good. And they were definitely within that 2,000 I would still feel proud of. Like I'm not talking shit about these people. They tried hard. But like you beat a lot of them. Some of you guys. Like... You know, with my Joom account, I managed to zoom past people like R&J. R&J was running like a great sword synergy team that I didn't even want to mess with. It looked really intimidating, but for whatever reason, some of us still ranked higher than them. So, you know, there Dejin was another one that I saw myself zooming past a couple times, but he was obviously keeping it competitive because I went past him a couple of times, which means that he caught up a couple of times. Might have even closed out the week higher than some of my accounts because, again, I could have seen them. Most of my accounts were around 1,500 at the end of the week. It was my main... No, actually, it wasn't my main account. It was my Joom account specifically that ended up, which, by the way, historically has been the most ass in PvP. Well, no, actually, since it got Strike, it hasn't. But like before Strike, it was the most ass in PvP of all of my accounts by a long shot. But that one landed around 500. So there were definitely some that I passed in like the 600, 700, stuff like that, margins, and they could have caught up with me. Again, you could move maybe 400 or 500 ranks in a day if you did well. So, you know, maybe within that day, you know, because you already lost those, so it ends up being a wash most of the time. But I would say that I did... When I got really good win streaks, when I was really consistent, when I had everything going for me, I could gain maybe 100 rank a day that I wouldn't lose. You know, like I would gain 500 and lose 400 at the end of the day. You know, like Thursday, I might start the day in 600, but Friday, I might be able to start the day in 500. And then Saturday, I could start the day at around 420. And then by Sunday, I'm starting the day at around 300 or something, you know, like that. Like you could consistently build yourself up. And there just, again, not having the Viz refills meant that there wasn't as much flux happening where people were just paying to get extra fights. So even though I think class match was really the thing that was exciting that I would most recommend out of my full experience this week, and also the least draining, I still did have a lot of fun with Limited Arena, and big recommend for people who maybe don't play a ton of Arena, maybe feel like it's a little bit rigged against them. Maybe it would be fun to play in a Limited Arena and really like save your effort and your spoons for that particular format, because at least for me, like, it was more fun. And again, if you do enjoy playing in manual, if you've kind of gotten anywhere near good at that from maybe PvE content or stuff like that, then that can really be a way of bringing a lot of fun back to this game, bringing a lot of enjoyment, and bringing a lot of like control. Like there's just it's fun to feel that you are fully responsible for the victory instead of going that AI, even though you could be adjusting the automation yourself in a number of ways, which I talk about in some of my team building videos, and maybe I'll talk about in a video again in the future if you haven't seen or heard of that. But like, agility tuning, turning on and off buffs to get them to do certain things, just turning off the things that you don't want them to use is a big deal a lot of times. But with all that being said, remember to like and subscribe. This is YouTube. That's the YouTube stuff. Do it. It's important. It really helps the channel, and I would really appreciate it. Also, a thing that would help me and I would appreciate, and if I'm going to be getting a new publisher anytime soon, because I'm not going to lie, I don't like working with Amazon. This has not been the greatest experience of my life. I would rather have a more hands-on publisher, maybe someone a little bit more serious, instead of, Amazon. The people who are like funding all those fucking scam authors and shit, pumping out like AI written self-help books and all that bullshit. But it would be nice to be able to show them that, hey, my books are selling well, and I have a number of them that are linked through the link in the description. Also, I've been having some issues. Like, if you have recently taken me up on that offer and looked at that, there's been a little window of time where those books haven't been available because I had an issue with Amazon, and thankfully I have mostly resolved those issues. Actually, I think I've resolved all of those issues. Cool. I haven't, they're still in review, to my understanding, but by the time you see this, they should be out of review, and I should have solved all of the errors that were keeping them from going to print. So if anybody wants a book or has been looking for one recently, then click that link. They're available now. Go get them. Even have a hardback of my first book in the Into Dreams series. Maybe I'll do a hardback for like Athena's Chosen or the Prometheus Effect. That was my favorite out of the Mindscape series. Both of those books actually take place chronologically at the same time within the story, running parallel to each other. And there's actually like this interlacing story that's told by both books together. And that is actually one of my favorite characters and one of my favorite stories within the whole universe, really. And it's one that you have to read both of those books to fully understand, which I think is like a fun mechanic. Like, intertextuality is an interesting thing, and I appreciate it, and I think it's interesting, and I want to use it in some of my books, so I did. And you can read those books. You can buy those books on Amazon, and maybe someday a different publisher. But I can only really get there with your help, so buy a copy and help give me more ammunition to take to a future publisher to say, I deserve better. So with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.